But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you've got nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
And to Johnston. Johnson. And a ball by Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won. Champions, that's who we are.
Oh, what's happening? What's happening? Jungle Jim's Tuesday TikTok time, myself and the luminous Paddy. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Self?
Not bad. How was your cycle?
Fuck off.
Good to see you, mate. I know that you missed the weekender for the review of the Ross County game. Did you get to see it though?
I think I saw about 70 minutes, mate, and then I was infiltrated. Well, the house was infiltrated by a swarm of family members, including children, so they all wanted to go to the shops, and guess who had to take them?
Fair enough. I was fearing the worst whenever you said you got infiltrated.
I know. I just sounded
Aye. Right, okay, so welcome to the viewers. Hope you're all doing well. So we are back. Competitive football's back. We just beat Ross County 4-2. Positives and some negatives to take away, but I think that the main message is not to get carried away with it. It's still early days. You know, like the monsters across the river, they're obviously losing their shit because they dropped 3 points and a gap has already opened up. But yeah, I think the main thing is never to kind of get carried away with the highs or carried away with the lows. It's only one game, and this season is a marathon, of course, just like any other season, of course. But we'll get transfer activity. So we heard the whispers about Starfelt leaving. The whispers, as you definitely put it in the group chat, you hope that the whispers would turn into shouts, and they have indeed happened. So even Brendan Rodgers, we heard it for the horse's mouth. Carol Starfelt is looking to leave due to personal reasons. I'm sure we can all guess as to what they are. Another, it's an opportunity as well to test himself at a higher level in terms of league football. So it looks like he might be going to Real Betis. I've seen the figure of €5 million being quoted, which would translate to just over £4 million. It's not much. It's pretty much what we paid for him. However, and that's another talking point. People are saying, well, we should be getting more money for him. I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter, and I think the general consensus is it's a fair price. He's 28 years old, so whoever buys him now, they're not going to have a sell-on value after that. But they're buying a ready-made player, And I do hope that whenever he signs for, if it is Betis, then he's played as the right of a centre-back, just to complement his playing style a wee bit more. It got probably got an unnecessary amount of flack by us playing him on the left, but it worked out well for him. He got what, 5 trophies at Celtic. So anyway, I'm rambling on.
I was going to say that earlier, Gav. Was it no Celta Vigo that I heard? Has it changed?
Who was that saying?
Real Betis.
All right. I get the two clubs mixed up. I don't know why. One plays in green, one plays in blue. I don't know why I get them mixed up, man. Sorry. Thank you. It's not the first time I speak incorrectly on this podcast.
Yeah, listen, we're all humans. Listen, see at the start when I heard about Starfelt leaving, I wasn't quite strange, but I wasn't too bothered as such, right? And I'm still no that bothered. But I don't. He's one of the players that I didn't want to see leaving. But if he is going to leave, then he's done his a turn. He's been part of an integral partnership with Carter Vickers, title-winning partnership. I know he's everybody's best player or most liked and whatnot. But listen, the guy put the effort in. He had his faults, had his doubters. That is what it was. As I say, he was part of a team that won leagues, won cups, and let's be honest. I mean, leaving for love isn't the worst thing, is it?
No, it's leaving for love. You know what I mean? So, do you think that that human element, the fact that he wanted to go for personal reasons, do you think that has, like, for example, if it was Daniel Levy at Tottenham, he would try and punt him for a good 14 million, you know? But do you think that the human element has kind of played a part in us agreeing to it quite quickly and perhaps not haggling about the fee? I'm just surmising. I don't know what's happening behind the back. I think it is a fair enough price tag. Do you think that's played a part, that factor, the human element?
No, I don't think so, mate. It's probably his rateable value because he's not got many international caps, as you say. He's 28, so he's on his way to 30. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Listen, we're either getting our money back or we're making slightly more money than what we paid out. But we're getting our money back, and we've had a player for 2 seasons that's done as a turn. So it's no the worst thing. He's not the worst guy to have ever played for Celtic. He's no leaving with his finger up like that. Do you know what I mean? He's obviously, excuse me, he's obviously spoke to the management and says, listen, I need to leave because of personal reasons. Fair play, I say. I would probably move to Spain for her as well, if I was a single Swedish centre-back for Celtic.
Right, okay, so see, whenever we brought in Naroki, I was hoping that Naroki would be brought in to challenge Starfield for that position. You know, I felt that that's a standard of competition that we were striving for. But now it feels like we're consolidating our position again by the fact that Starfield is leaving. And so we need to bring in another centre-back, which almost puts Naroki as, you know, Cameron Carter-Vickers' defensive partner, and he's not really had to win that, to earn it through his performances in training to show that he's the best guy there. With Starfelt leaving, you know, he just goes automatically up in the pecking order. So it looks like we're looking after another Swedish centre-back. I think this guy's only got 1 cap, which is no disgrace. Obviously, I'm sure that the competition is fairly decent as well. So a 23-year-old Lagerbeck, Lager whatever, I don't know. I've not watched it on YouTube yet. I think the rumours broke only a day or so ago, maybe 2 days ago. Not watched much of it. It's been reported by Anthony Joseph, so I'm sure we can say that it's fairly trustworthy, that source. It looks like Celtic have put in a bid, approximately £3 million. Don't suppose you've seen much of him. Have you heard anything about the guy? I think he's 6'3", so at least we're getting a bit of height anyway.
Never heard him before. Not going to lie. Soon as I saw the name, you know, another one right out of the blue. Jumped onto YouTube, had a look at him. So he's about 6'3"-ish. He's got the face of a 12-year-old and the body of a fucking basketball player. He looks alright. I think he looks to be one of these kind of passing defenders. I didn't really see much kind of physicality in there, if you want to call it that. But listen, I think it's very telling that Starfelt is on his way out. The manager's basically said it. I think it was his dentist as well that put up a wee fucking thing on tweet or something. Twitter. Instagram or some shit like that. And it had like a wee Spanish flag on it, enjoy your next adventure, some shit like that. So the socials have confirmed it. The only thing that's not been confirmed is his actual transfer, but that'll probably be, you know, the next day or two. But again, I find it very interesting the fact that we're actually going straight out and we're going to get 1 or maybe 2 centre backs, and it shows that there's probably a lack of trust there in Stephen Welsh and what's his name, Kobayashi. Skills,
yeah.
I actually didn't even fucking think about Skills. But no, listen. The thing that I like here, right, is I was a fan of Nawrocki's performance. I thought it was good. I've liked what I've seen on YouTube. He looks like a passionate, aggressive defender. I like that. That was clearly Brendan Rodgers signing, because he said that he's played against him when he was the Leicester manager, and he was playing for Legia. and he liked what he saw. So that's clearly a player that's been on his radar before. He's got that man in now, and now we've quickly moved on to maybe one or two centre backs. So I'm thinking that Navrotskis is a Rodgers signing, and the other guys will be a Mark Lawwell signing. You know what I mean? It's been on the list. It's been on the kind of the totem pole. Transfer targets, which is clearly a good thing, because if we're losing one quickly, then we're going to be replacing quickly. You know what I mean? There's no Dillian, there's no Daly, there's no fanning about. So that's a bit a positive for me.
Yeah, well, on one hand, I'm really impressed at how quickly we're reacting to this news. On the other hand, I'm trying to take a step back from it and think, this news about Starfelt, how long has he known about it for? When did he alert the club about his potential intentions as well? So how long have we known about this? And this boy, Lagerbeck, whatever, I'd imagine he's always been like maybe on the radar, you know, in the pecking order, as you say. So it was probably a club signing rather than a Brendan Rodgers signing. And sometimes I guess we probably get too hung up on whose fingerprints are on a signing. As long as they do well, 3 million, not a value that you would sniff at, you know. It's still substantial cash. So I'm impressed by how fast we're reacting. At the same time, I would just want to make sure that we're not panicking. You'd be more reassured if we were making moves in the transfer market, because it was, you know, long drawn out decisions. We deliberated over it. This was part of the strategy. The only thing that makes me uncomfortable is it sounds like, as I said earlier, we're trying to consolidate our position. Starfelt goes, we're having to bring in two new centre backs. But anyway, Rocky, for all intents and purposes, impressed on his first day. A wee bit too early to say how good he is. You know, some people are saying that he's already better than Starfelt. Far too premature to say that. We need to see what he's going to be like under pressure. You remember how Christopher Julian looked, you know, like a Rolls Royce, until he came up against that idiot who was playing for Livingston. You know, the Dykes, mate. Dykes, thank you. And Dykes, you know, just made them look silly. And it's those incidents that players get judged upon. So hopefully the Rocky builds up the confidence, still a young man himself. And hopefully this new guy, if we do bring him in, Lagerbeck, hopefully he's decent and he adds competition. But so who do you think the spares? So we want to have 4 centre backs. So you've got Scales, you've got Welsh, you've got Kobayashi. So a bit like Snog, Mari, avoid, if we were to do it in football context, punt, loan and keep out of Kobayashi, Scales and Welsh. Who's getting punted?
Punt, loan and keep.
And marry one of them if you wish, but
well, can I?
Wow.
Well, I would punt Kobayashi. I don't see any future here for him. Looks very, very lightweight. Nah, I'm not impressed. I'm not like desperate to get the guy out the door, but if you were asking me, I would probably say Kobayashi. I would say loan Stephen Welsh. Hopefully it would be a loan to buy. But I like him. I just don't think he's the best. And I would keep Scales. And again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's very, very rare to have a left-footed centre back. So that could be useful. Plus, I do like the look of Scales when he's played. Big laddie. I think it's confident enough, so.
Sell Welsh, put Scales to Aberdeen on loan, and Kobayashi to Hibs for experience. See, when I talk about Stephen Welsh, I think he's a decent player. I'm not saying that he's Celtic quality at this stage in his career, but I think that he's been hanging about for so long. He's been bailing us out of trouble whenever, you know, for kind of instances where we've had injuries, you know, and he stays a full season.
I'm really, really sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry, mate, but I hope that is your real name, mate. Justin Farajobi. That is a fucking belter of a name. If it's no, I apologise. But Mr. Farajobi is saying that Swedish journalist said Big Lagerfeld Lagerfeld? Who fuck's Lagerfeld? Who's that again?
Lagerfeld.
What's that designer guy in it? Karl Lagerfeld. Big Lagerfeld is the best defender in Sweden. I'll take that.
I was just saying that Welsh, I think that he's kind of hung around Celtic for too long against his wishes, and I think he deserves to pursue a Celtic career. I think we owe him that. Although I think he's a better player than Kobayashi. Scales, as you said, he's got a left foot. He did well at Aberdeen. I don't think he would want to be the fourth choice centre back. I wonder what his motivation is, because he kind of came to senior football late. I think he was in university until his early 20s. And then obviously he played in the Irish League over to here to Celtic, perhaps out of his depth at Celtic Park. But he's kind of found his place at Aberdeen. I don't know. I would definitely punt Kobayashi. I would get him to Japan. I would definitely get him to Japan. Aye. Corvo says that you'll pay the postage for Kobayashi. Yes. I don't think the guy's won many fans. So, and it's just a few games that it takes, Hearts to get bullied, Ibrox to get bullied. That's all it takes for people to lose faith in you. Do you think that Kobayashi ever had it in him to I was hoping that in the summer he was going to bulk up, hit the gym, come back and look like a new player. It didn't really seem to happen.
You were hoping. But listen, you get players in, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. That's just part and parcel of football. I mean, look at Ideguchi. I mean, we sat here with your man Dan for Japan, who told us that out of the three signings at the time, which was Ideguchi, Maeda and Hatate, his biggest, the one that he thought would be the best player at the lot of them would be Ideguchi. And one injury, and that's him done. He's never getting back in. And unfortunately, the guy went back to Japan on loan and got injured again. So these things just happen. It's just part and parcel. It's almost like fate at times. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, it's no worked out for Kobayashi. He's no moved anywhere yet, so he's still a Celtic player. Could be useful, but if the question was asked, like, do I think he'll make it? No. Do I think he's good enough? No. Unfortunately. No ill will against the guy, but no, I don't rate him.
Fair dues. I want to talk about Turnbull. Now, Turnbull is getting a lot of traction right now. Did well in the pre-season, and Brendan Rodgers dropped Hatate. I think that was a wise decision to drop Hatate. I guess it opens a question, is Hatate going to leave as well? But I think for motivation for Hatate, for me, undoubtedly, he's got the highest ceiling any player at Parkhead. But anyway, Turnbull was given the responsibility and he proved the manager right. He got 2 goals, should have got a hat-trick, and he was instrumental in the build-up play for another goal anyway. Now, Turnbull playing with a smile on his face, he's enjoying his football. That's different to the Turnbull that we knew when he was on the fringes under Ange. However, he's been at Celtic for 2.5 years now, haven't we? Are we seeing a Turnbull? And O'Reilly was saying that he lost his 2 chums in Starfelt and Jota. O'Reilly's just looking to latch on to a new player. It was definitely bigging up the compliments, for Turnbull in that interview. But Turnbull, as a Celtic fan, if you think about the standard that you want our team to be operating at, bearing in mind the domestic competition and European competition, is Turnbull the right man for you to be our chief creator in the midfield, or do you think that we would be settling for something that we shouldn't be settling for? That Turnbull's going to be the main man?
No, I certainly think that. Rodgers' MO when he comes into a club, he likes to look at the players that's there. He likes to see who he can develop, who's going to kind of stand up and be counted. And I think if you look at the way that Rodgers plays, it's about ball retention. It's not so much the kind of rock and roll in your face football of Postecoglou. Yeah. It's all about technical side and waiting for the opportunities and being able to keep the ball. Blah 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 blah. I think it suits Turnbull to a T. Now, me, I've been on here long enough. I've slated Turnbull, but I've only done it because I know that Turnbull is a cracking player. He's got technical ability. He can pass. He can shoot. He can get his head up. He can do wonders with a football. My issues with Turnbull has been his application in terms of teamwork, right? But that, I don't think he suited Postecoglou's style. Well, I say I don't think. I think it's been basically proved, right? But you put him into Rodgers' team, it's a new start for everybody. And again, a manager's tactics can suit certain players. I don't think it's a million miles different for Postecoglou's system, but I don't think you need to be as mobile in Rodgers' system, which will probably suit Turnbull. And he's clearly, his decision to drop Hatate for Turnbull paid dividends, because Turnbull has scored 2 goals, isn't it? Scored 2 goals, and he pretty much dictated the game, the tempo, as well as others. But in terms of his performance, he done it, and the kind of energy and drive for Hatate wasn't missed. So
wasn't he missed in that game? But that's the season opener, Ross County at home. I said it on Saturday. The one thing that one factor that kind of scares me is the lack of pace, the lack of potential pace in the midfield. Callum McGregor, for all his technical qualities, he's not an athlete. Matt O'Reilly, again, not an athlete. And Turnbull, he's definitely not an athlete. The three of them, playing together in some games, at Parkhead and blah, 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 they'll look very impressive as they were on Saturday. However, I like to get a wee bit more from my midfield, And whenever you're out of possession, playing against a half-decent team, so say we're playing against Sevco out of possession, are those players going to be able to cover the ground as much? It was a bit like when Aaron Moy would play with O'Reilly and Callum McGregor last year as well. The similar kind of lack of pace. And now it's Turnbull who's coming in. Turnbull has got a lot to offer the team, but maybe I'm just concerned about the combination if you play him, McGregor and Turnbull together. Well, by the way, the competition in midfield is fierce. Odin, I think, is a player to watch.
Mate, I've just clicked onto this guy's name. I'm asking if it's a fucking real name. Jesus Christ. Just in for a jobby.
Yes.
That's been right on my head, by the way. That's embarrassing. I'm just thinking it was like a fucking African name or something. Justin Farajobby. No, Justin Farajobby. Aye, very good. Yeah, no, listen, I know what you mean. Like, are they three players kind of similar? Too similar, is that what you mean for the midfield three?
No, I don't think that they're too similar. I think they complement each other. And O'Reilly said in his interview after the game, he likes to be playing a little bit more of a deeper role. He said that he felt less effective when he was playing in a more advanced midfield role. He said that whenever he was covering for Callum McGregor when he had his eye injury, so O'Reilly was playing as the kind of deep lying playmaker. He said that made him a more all-rounded footballer, and I agree with that. And I'm hoping for more things from O'Reilly this season. I think they complement each other very, very well. The three of them. I just think overall lack of pace in midfield. I love pace in my team, and even if you've got it on the wings, that's not good enough. I want it in my midfield as well. Tracking back, you know what I mean? When you've got midfield runners exposing our midfield and running through our defence, I want players with pace to track back. What are you laughing at? I need to dump her, for fuck's sake. Didn't even look at that there.
No, listen, I know what you mean, right? But see, if you've got Maeda on the left and you've got Abada on the right, and they guys are making the forward runs, you've got Kyogo up on top, he's dropping deep, and you've got Turnbull and O'Reilly kind of coming either side and getting forward. I know the speed. I think what still has been missing for a long time has been the advancement of either one or two of the three midfielders. See having like one sitting deep and two just kind of moving about the midfield and nobody getting forward and backing up Kyogo. That's where we've had problems, because if Kyogo's up against 2 and 3 defenders and he's up there on his own, you know what I mean? It's going to be more difficult for him to go on his game. But if somebody's breaking forward, like a Turnbull, who's going to get into positions to shoot, who's going to get positions to score, and then you've got O'Reilly as well doing it on the other side, like of the centre, and getting forward and managing to get a goal like he did. That's a big positive for me, mate, because it's all about the team. It's all about how we've transitioned through the game, how our movement kind of puts the pressure on the other defenders. But it's going to be, I think, the biggest test, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think that'll probably show in Europe. Has Turnbull and O'Reilly got the pace to match the more quicker midfields in Europe?
Yeah. As I said, defensively, without the ball, I'm concerned about that. The other thing is, whenever you've got possession and you're playing against a higher caliber of team, the fact that you need to run quickly to fill different positions, to make angles for the pass, to draw players in, to free up other areas for your teammates, that's another thing, and you need pace for that. I'm not saying that the midfield is redundant. They complement each other very well. I'm just saying against a higher quality of opposition, you might start to notice creaks. But again, as we said, the competition in midfield is very, very fierce. So outside those three, and I guess Hatate as well, because Hatate is one of the best midfielders we've got. Who do you think will offer tough competition to break into that? So you've got Kwon, you've got Odin Holm, you've got Wata, and tell me if I'm missing anyone. So those three players, Ideguchi as well. Difficult to count Ideguchi. I would expect him to be shipped out on loan.
What about McCarthy?
Oh, fuck off.
Sorrow as well. Fuck, he's still here.
Kwon, Odin, and Iwata. Who do you think has got the best prospects to make an impact in that midfield?
Probably Home, I would say. I like the look of that boy. I like the fact that he gets the ball and he turns quickly. As soon as he gets the ball, he turns to go forward. I really, really like that. I would say Home for your question, but I think the likes of Kwon will be utilised in certain games. So if we're up against it and we're up against a very attacking opposition, you know what I mean? Kwon could come in and he could be the guy that sits deep, lets Calmac move forward, lets him use his pace and his energy. I think we need to be a bit more pragmatic this season and alter our team depending on our opponents.
And we've got a comment. By the way, I agree with you about Home. I think he looks really, really exciting. Hardly had any minutes so far, of course, but he looks an exciting player. For Paul Patrick, Maeda and Kyogo could have more of a partnership this season with better movement across the front line. Kyogo looks like he's added another dimension to his game with the through balls. I agree with that. I like the fact that I don't like my striker dropping deep if he's not affecting play. But Kyogo did it a couple of times on Saturday, and he did it to great effect. He played in Turnbull, who should have scored a goal, and then he played in O'Reilly, who did score a goal. So I like that. I'm happy if he's sacrificing his position to let other people run in, and that's cool with me. And I'm sure it's coming from Brendan Rodgers. He sees that potential in Kyogo.
Well, there's Tam Mack. I think we've pissed you off the right time. No, we don't know it all. We could be 100 games in and we don't know it all. We're just a couple of bams sitting giving our opinions. But by all means, feel free to retort in the comments. We'll get them up.
Right, so there's been a couple of names who have been mentioned. McAtee.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if there's two players from the on the Man City books who were looking at. McAtee, I've heard one. I don't even know if he is a Man City player, and I think there's somebody else. I don't know anything about them. I've done no research on them at all. But so Corvo is saying he's heard that Celtic has been linked with James McAtee. I would take him in a heartbeat. He'd be a brilliant Jota replacement. So again, are these loans that are being floated about? Paddy, what do you think of a loan on its own? I've heard some people on Twitter say they don't want loans; they only want a loan with the option to buy. Try before you buy. It worked well with Jota and Cameron Carter-Vickers.
I would like us to continue on with that. I mean, unless it was like fucking Kieran Tierney, for talking's sake, getting him on loan would be very a sentimental thing, because we know he's a good player. We know he'd come up here and give his all. We can't afford to pay his wages. You know what I mean? So having the sell-on, having the future fee would be kind of redundant. But if it is a case of it's a young, promising guy like James McAtee and then Tommy Doyle, as Plunge's saying, two guys from Man City. I think I can't remember if it was Tommy Doyle or McAtee that was on loan at Sheffield United.
I think it was McAtee to Sheffield United.
Aye.
I think.
Yeah. Listen, the two of the boys are very, very talented. I would, if we can get them in, we can get them in, great. And if we can use the loan to buy system, that's good as well, because if they don't pan out, they go home. And if they do pan out, then we try and buy. Simple as that. I think gone are the days, mate, that we need to get loan players in, like substandard players, you know what I mean? Because we need to beef up the squad, or we've got too short a squad and we need to pull in the numbers for injury type thing. So I think our loan system is totally different now. The way that we're operating, the way that we're thinking, the way that we utilise it. So I'm happy with the way that we're set up. But I tell you a name that I heard today, and I don't know how concrete it is or anything, but Michael Antonio, West Ham.
Yeah. I heard about that. Do you remember he tore us a new one in that the pre-season friendly?
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago? Was it last season? Aye. When he made, I was at 2 seasons ago when he made Barcast. Yeah, so we get spanked by West Ham. Even that boy Oko Flex going in the act as well. He scored against us as well. But Mikel Antonio on his day, he was a battering ram. Even like the best defenders struggled against him physically, but extremely injury prone. His scoring record for West Ham leaves a lot to be desired. And saying that, West Ham, their transfer policy is ridiculous sometimes. There was old Declan Rice and they still really haven't bought anybody. We got a Jetty for West Ham, so be very, very aware. And Antonio, yeah, he's on 70,000. He'll be hanging on to that contract until the very final days. Yeah, he's injury prone, totally different prospect. You know, like he's the physicality.
Mate,
it'd be funny watching him.
I would have him here in a fucking heartbeat. He's big, he's black, he's strong, he walks like a horse, good quality, no scared of anything. Just a big presence. I can't see it happening, but I'd take him, no bother. 33 or 23, no bother.
This one here, for would say, we've got money in the bank. Don't pay out loads and loan fees for players to go back better to Man City. Then we can't afford them. Paddy bloody Roberts again. And of course, it happens in Scottish League, you know, like Aberdeen, their fans don't like it. Us loaning them players because they say that they're developing our players. So I get that. But the first part of his message there, we've got money in the bank. So Paddy, you've heard the phrase like money burns a hole in your pocket. We appear to have been very, very financially pragmatic so far this summer. There's a school of thought that Rodgers never came in to be the Celtic manager for a second time. If he was like working on a shoestring budget, he was coming in to make an impact in Europe. Not saying Champions League, not saying Europa, just an impact in Europe, and obviously to continue the domestic dominance. But we've got money in, you know, in our accounts. We don't seem to have splashed the cash. You don't want to be ridiculous with your money and obviously show your hand, but we've not really bought players for like high values. where do you stand in this right now? I know that people feel underwhelmed. There's a few more weeks to go before the window shuts. Roger said after the county game, then you can expect activity. Do you think that we're going to get, like proper good signings, people of the calibre of Jota, who's left us already? Why did Rodgers come back? Why did he come back if this is how we're operating?
Well, I heard the interview with Chris Sutton he did at Lennoxtown, and do you know something? I actually believed Rodgers. He says, he came back. There was the connection. Grew up a Celtic man. He's a Celtic fan. He's still watched Celtic. He's obviously managed here, done well. He says that he chose us over other clubs, including clubs in Saudi and a team in the Premiership. So, I think what's been put on the table has been attractive. I was expecting maybe at least one £15 million player, maybe a Fabian Reader, somebody like that. But you know something? We could go out and spend £15 million on a player, Gav, and he turns out to be an absolute fucking dud. I think everybody's obsessed with spending a certain amount of money. But money doesn't always buy you happiness if we're going down the old Zane road. You know what I mean? As I say, it's like earlier on topic, Kobayashi. A player can come in, a player can come in and get injured his first game. You know what I mean? That could be the same and all with the £15 million player. We could get the £15 million player and he comes in and doesn't take to Scottish football and doesn't do well. His head's turned, his head's down, da. So many variable factors, the human element, this and that. So I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to say that I trust the manager and I trust the transfer committee, Mark Lawwell, everybody that's in that scouting department to find us the right players, for the positions and for the club that we need, and for Rodgers' formations. I'm no 100% delighted, but I'm reasonably happy. I would love us to sign a big name goalkeeper. Honestly, I don't want to go into too much of Joe Hart rant tonight, but Joe Hart, for me, I'm sorry, he's done. He's been a great servant. I still think he's got something to offer, but judging on pre-season performances and judging on that game at the weekend, my God, he looks to have honestly, seriously regressed. Whether it's age or whether it's just rustiness, I really don't know. But if that's the performances that Joe Hart is going to give it this season, then we're going to be in big trouble. He looks so slow. His reactions look slow. He looks a bit like fucking Frankenstein in the goals. He's so slow. And I do honestly hate to criticise him because I think he's been great for us. But nah, we need to upgrade there. So if we could get a goalkeeper like a Don Livakovic, I would be delighted with this transfer window, honestly.
Yeah, I think the more you hear for Celtic fans, more people would like to bring in a top goalie, throw the money down on Livakovic, because I can't go on another season with Robocop in the nets again. Yeah, I think most Celtic fans agree that they want to bring in. It would certainly kind of change the complexion of the team if we brought in a top goalkeeper. Hart has a calamity every game now. He is creaking, mate. It's difficult to disagree with that. It is. No, I firmly believe that if we did bring in a top goalkeeper, Hart will be gone. I don't think there'd be any way that he would stick about in Scotland to be second fiddle. And the thing is, Anthony Joseph, he reported that Celtic were in for Livakovic as well, and he's still not signed for Fenerbahce. Now, that tells me that if the rumours are true that we are looking at him, it means if we don't get our man, surely we're going to go to the number 2 on that pecking order. We're not just going to say, oh, well, we never got him, we'll just stick with Joe Hart. Surely Brendan Rodgers has identified that that's a position that's upgradable. And Hart, he came with a really bad reputation. After leaving Man City, he was knocking about the football teams in Europe, went abroad, a couple of teams in England. It wasn't working out for him. And he's had 2 brilliant years up in Scotland. One thing that does kind of concern me, say we get rid of Hart and we bring in a younger goalkeeper who's decent. The kind of the authority that he has, the influence, the experience, that's difficult to replace. What do you think the impact of that is? We bring in a goalkeeper who's a better goalkeeper, but he has nowhere near the experience. And let's say, I don't know, maybe we bring in a foreign goalkeeper, maybe he doesn't speak English, who knows? What impact do you think that could have on the team losing that valuable experience?
I don't think you would lose it, Gav, because I know what you're saying about Hart no want to play second fiddle and whatnot, but I don't think if we brought in another goalkeeper that Hart would be demanding a transfer out or anything. I think the way that he spoke in the run-up to pre-season, the way that I took it, it was as if this was going to be his last season. He says, I will not be one of these goalkeepers that plays and plays, even when I can feel my body kind of breaking down. I won't do it. So I think if we were to sign another goalkeeper, I think he would stay for the remainder of the season because he's still got a lot to offer, right? He's no done. I'm no having that, right? But he's no. We need to do better. We need to do better than Joe Hart, unfortunately. But he's still got a lot to offer. He's still better than Scott Bain. He's still better than Siegrist. You know what I mean? He could be playing in the cups. It could be the guy who's mentoring in the background, pushing the new goalkeeper on the. No, I know, but you still need one of them. You still need them. Where is he going to go? Do you know what I mean? He's not going to go any higher than Celtic.
I don't think the Hart will stick about to be number 2. He'll just say to Brendan Rodgers and to the hierarchy, look, rip up my contract, and that's it. Scott Bain or Siegrist could be number 2. There's no way.
Right, well, see if he harked back to I think it was the interview with Tubes or something. He did the interview with that, and he was talking about when he was a Spurs goalkeeper, and the manager came in at the time. The new manager was at Nuno Espirito Santo. He said at the time, he says he was more than happy to be at the club. He knew that he wasn't the first choice. He knew that he wasn't the second choice. He says he was very, very happy to be there and be a part of whatever was happening at the club and do what he could. You know, if he was brought on, he would play. If he was in training, he would do his best. If he was mentoring young guys, he would do his best. But then the manager comes in and says, I've got no place for you. And he says, I wouldn't have left Spurs if I was told that by a former goalkeeper. Do you know what I mean? So I know what you're saying. I agree with it. But I don't think that Joe Hart would be the kind of guy that would throw the toys at the pram. I think he knows that he's at a certain age. He's not going to get better than this club. He can still do something for the club. Do you know what I mean? Just because a new goalkeeper's going to get signed doesn't mean to say he's never going to play again. He's going to be playing for the under-21s. It's not like that. He's not going to leave Celtic and go to a better club. He's not going to leave Celtic and be number 1 at a club the level of Celtic. So if he leaves here, he knows he's going to be right down the pecking order. And is he going to experience Champions League next? No. Is he going to experience fucking Glasgow derbies? Nah. Do you know what I mean? He'll still end up with a winner's medal at the end of the season because he'll get the amount of games required for that. Do you know what I mean? So he's here, still part of the squad. But it's just that I certainly do. I certainly think that we need better. But Joe Hart is infinitely better than Scott Bain, and he's infinitely better than Siegrist. So I would rather get rid of the two first, unfortunately. But no, as I say, I don't think it's a case of we get a new goalkeeper in and Joe Hart's off. My personal opinion, I totally understand where you're coming from. I really do, but I don't think it's as kind of cut and dry as that.
I think we can both agree on the fact that we want a new goalkeeper, a new number 1. Absolutely, that's where we do agree. Do you want to park that for a second, and we'll do it on this day feature, and then we can go back to righting the wrongs of Celtic. So on this day, the 8th of August, back in 2001. So I'm sure most people here will remember this. Celtic beat Ajax 3-1 in the Champions League qualifier in Amsterdam. So this was when Martin O'Neill took over. And I remember going into it, I was I don't know, a teenager at that point, and I was thinking, look, we've got an exciting team, but Ajax is a different proposition. They're a household name in Europe, and I'm so jealous because my father was at the game. My dad was working in the Netherlands at the time, and his boss took him and a couple of the workmates to go to it. So jealous. I never expected Celtic to win, you know. The unfortunate thing is we get beat 1-0 at Parkhead 1-0, but it was almost like we knew the job was done. We just tried to kind of keep it tight. We went through, we got to the Champions League, and such a memorable Champions League campaign it was. But this was one of the most impressive away performances by Celtic in European football for a long time. Ironically, people might say it was the most impressive away performance since the last time we beat Ajax in the Netherlands. Now, do you remember the starting lineup? Could you tell me that? Right, who we got in goal? Who we got in goals? And keep your eye off the comments, Paddy.
In goals,
right.
Fuck. I want to say Douglas, but was it?
Yeah. Douglas,
was it right? Douglas,
right.
Mjällby.
Mjällby's there, yes. Who's
Mjällby, Volharen, was it Tom Boyd?
Tom Boyd, well done.
Boyd. I got Peter, Lambert, Lennon, Petrov, Larson, and Sutton.
Did you just read that for somewhere? No, you got it right.
It's in here, mate. It's in here. I remember it well.
I
knew we hadn't signed Bobo at the time, and I knew we hadn't signed Thompson at the time.
Do you remember any of the players who played for Ajax on that day?
Who was that? Kivu.
Kivu. He went on to play for Inter Milan, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Christian Kivu.
Mate, I fucking haven't got a clue.
Who scored for them that day? He went on to play for the Rotten Mob.
Ajax. Oh, the twin. Arveladze.
He was a twin, sorry?
Aye.
I thought you were going to say one of the De Boer brothers there when you said twin.
No, Arveladze, mate, he's got an identical twin brother that played football as well.
All right, not Mr. Bean, his identical twin brother.
By the way, yes, he looked like Mr. Bean. Aye, absolutely.
Maido played for them. Maido went on to play for Middlesbrough. He was an Egyptian forward.
That Egyptian guy?
Yes. There was Van der Vaart as well. He started in that game.
Did Litmanen play, no? Was he there?
No, Litmanen, he might have been playing for Liverpool possibly at that time.
Right. Who's the lineup then? Give us that.
The goalkeeper, lovely name, Grimm.
Right. Is it Fred Grimm or something? Is it? Fucking Frank or something?
Very Grimm, I don't know. Kivu, a guy called Trabelsi, Maido, Arveladze, Passanen, Maklas, Yakubu, but it's not the same Yakubu that we knew. Van der Vaart, Ikieda, and Cruz. I'm wondering if Cruz is the same player who played for Inter Milan, who was a forward.
Cruz.
Can you tell me the scorers for Celtic?
Sutton.
Yeah.
Sutton,
a brilliant header.
Sutton with a header. I got with one of the best runs ever. And was it Petrov?
Peter.
Peter. Aye.
Peter. Aye.
What a fucking performance that was for the two wingers.
It was awesome. I'm looking at that squad right now, and thank you, mate. Thank you. I'm looking at that squad, and I know that the kind of everybody would say the weak link was the goalkeeper. Not on this day. Douglas pulled off a few good saves. However, we got the better of Ajax, not just in terms of the goals, but we were the better team on the night. But quality team. Douglas, Tom Boyd, albeit coming to the end of his Celtic career, McNamara, O'Haran, Larson, Sutton, Lambert, Peta, Agat, Lennon, Mjällby. What a team. And Bobby Peta, I know that he didn't have a great Celtic career, but there was a period in time when Martin O'Neill was manager where Bobby Peta looked very, very good. He had a brilliant night that night. Another night that came to mind where he was fantastic, a European night. It was when we get beat by Valencia on penalties, I think it was like a knockout game in the Europa Cup or UEFA Cup. Peta was running the show for Celtic. Just a shame that he never had that. Maybe he never had the same application as other players, day in, day out. But for a period, Bobby Peta was very good, and he scored that goal in the 7th minute. And he was a PSV man? Did we sign him from PSV?
No, I think
he came
I think we signed him to Feyenoord, and he was actually, if memory serves correct, he was Reggie Blinker's understudy at Feyenoord.
Yeah, ironic.
But no, listen, as you say, mate, Bobby Peta was on fire that night. And for at least half of that season, obviously Nobby, spot on, mate. I remember the only excuse episode for that year, right? And it was about the 6-2 performance, and all you could hear was, and Bobby Peta, and he's fucking terrorising Ricks and this and that. And then it switched on to like a cubicle, and all you could see was feet, and it was like Ricks and shitting himself. Had ran away from Peta. But that's how good he was, do you know what I mean? And nobody expected that. Nobody expected that at all for Peta. And it was great that he scored the goal because it was like his return to Holland. It was the form that we hadn't expected because he was rotten. Previous to that, under John Barnes, and it just kind of showed you kind of Martin O'Neill's man management, how good he could be and get the best out of some players, lots of players. I got that the speedy I got that night was just fucking absolutely frightening, and I wasn't the quickest guy, like for the start, like in a sprint, but his acceleration was unbelievable. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I think he was the fastest player in the world at one point, the fastest runner.
It was ironic because whenever we signed him, I think he failed a medical for a French team prior to that. I think he had like no cartilage left in one of his knees. But
Who's this, a guy?
obviously, I got. But Hibs took a punt on him, and obviously, was it Wraith Rovers and then Hibs and then Celtic? By the way, I'm looking at the daily record back page from that game when we beat Ajax. So Sevco were playing that night as well. And the headline for Sevco, they were playing Fenerbahce. It was nothing each at Ibrox. And Raging Gels have got it Brawl to play for in Turkey. Rangers will be fueled by a sense of injustice when they travel to Turkey in a fortnight after last night's goalless Champions League draw with Fenerbahce, and it was marred by a scuffle which saw Michael Moles sent off. And then below that, you've got a massive picture of Chris Sutton just like celebrating. It says, "Dam busters, Celtic heroes on the brink of history after Ajax destruction." What a night, man! What a night! I remember after like games like that, like my dad would want to collect the newspapers. He would send me down to the shop and said, "Just buy all the newspapers, because he just wanted to read all the headlines." Good old days, man. Good old days. Aye. We've had many of them.
Just about Didier Agathe, right? I've probably mentioned this a million times, right? But if you don't remember, I'm going to ask you a question. So you say who did Celtic sign him for?
Agathe was for Hibs.
Right, and who did they play for before that?
I think it was Wraith Rovers.
Right, and during that time, what other Glasgow team did they play for?
I think it's a trivia thing. Did he play for like, Rangers in a movie or something? Yeah, it's weird looking.
A shot at glory, mate. He played for Wraith Rovers, and he was asked to be an extra. And in the film, he was the star striker for the Rotten Mob. So there you are. Excuse the picture. Try and keep your dinner in your gut. But here is Didier Agathe wearing a Rangers top.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Ali McCoist was wearing a hoops top.
Ali McCoist in it had been a star player for Celtic.
Yeah. Who the fuck directed? Was that the movie that Robert Duvall was in? The guy who was in The Godfather?
Aye. Do you remember that? So obviously, I think Ali McCoy's got onto the pitch Ibrox or something like that. And somebody's obviously flung a flag out, a scarf, and he's picked up, and it's one of the fucking orange, whatever, is on the scarf. But if you look at all the videos and whatnot, Robert Duvall talking about his favourite ever person, the best person that he's ever met, and he always says, "Wee Jinky, Wee Jinky, Wee Jinky Johnson." So he was a brilliant wee guy. So he's very, very, very much talks very well about Celtic. Or he did. But it's a strange film, that. Very, very strange film. There you are, Hugh Jameson. Duvall called his dog Jinky in tribute to our Jinky. Fun enough.
What a player.
And I knew the laddie who, I don't know if you remember the film, Gav, but there's a bit, and I think it's in the Gorbals. It was filmed in the Gorbals, and there's a bit where McCoist is driving in and he's fucking Toyota convertible or something, and there's a wee guy getting chased down the street, and he basically comes and saves the wee guy. And I'm pretty sure in it the wee guy had a Rangers tattoo on or something. And obviously McCoist is meant to have been a Celtic player, and he slags him or something. But see the wee guy had the Rangers tattoo when he was a Celtic supporter. Strange, I know. Shitey story, but there you go.
And speaking of shite stories, Punch, thank you for sharing that. I have a cat called Nookie.
It's the only fucking Nookie you'll get, Paul.
Yeah. I never knew that Brian Cox was the Rangers manager for that.
Was he?
I think I've only seen it once. Football movies are terrible. Do you remember that movie that? Oh, what's his face? The guy who always dies. The Sheffield United.
When Saturday comes.
So he was playing as like a rags to riches player who he gets a trial for Sheffield United, the Blades, and he ends up being able to play for them. There
was talk a couple of no bother, Paul, no bother. You wish. Your Honda doesn't count, that's what I'm saying. Pamela and her 5 sisters isn't in this conversation. Do you remember a couple of years ago there was talk about the Lisbon Lions being turned into a film?
No.
That would have been, by the way, you're right, Hugh Jameson, and by the way, Sean Bean is also a massive Celtic fan as well, fun enough. And of course, Corvo, the Newcastle man in the crowd. Yes. Goal. Terrible film. Newcastle played Fulham.
I never watched that movie.
Mate, it's terrible. He gets his it's a wee guy comes off. He's like an illegal immigrant in America or something. Comes on to England and gets a trial with Newcastle, but he manages to he gets played on at the end, and he gets put on against Fulham. That's what he calls him. Anyway, shite story over. What were we talking about there? There was meant to be. There was a lot of talk about a Lisbon Lions film getting brought out. That would have been a fucking great film, by the way. That would have been one of the best films yet.
See, I watched like the opening 20 minutes of The Damned United, which is about Brian Clough.
Aye.
And whenever you see actors try to play as professional footballers, you had what's the guy's name? He was playing Billy Bremner. He's been at Celtic games, but he's a scouser. He's
Stephen Graham.
Yeah, like he was playing Billy Bremner, and I'm just like, mate, you look nothing like a footballer, and I just like, I can't believe this. You know, it's just so unbelievable. You'd be more believable walking about like acting like a gangster with a gun than try to kind of pretend to get a footballer. Football movies just don't do it for me. They're shite. The best sport movie I've ever seen is Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino. Sporting movies are just difficult to pull off, I think.
It would be, but I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, like, what's this? I don't know.
Charlie Nicholas, like.
What you on about, John? You've not fucking commented yet. Away you go. Fuck off. It would have been a. Sorry, I've just put You should pick that up my fucking train of thought though. It would be funny to sit and think about who would be who. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure if a film was brought out, Martin Compston would be shoehorned in there somewhere. And fucking what do you call him? Your man for 300.
Gerard Butler.
Aye. Yeah, imagine him fucking as Bobby Lennox.
I read yesterday that Gerard Butler apparently is going to be starring in a movie, and he's trying to connect with like I don't know. I think his son, who he was estranged from, but Gerard Butler is playing a washed-up Celtic footballer, not based on anybody. But that
was a film. That was a film.
Really.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It wasn't even a football film. It was like, I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but he's basically he's a former Celtic player, and there's like a scene, and he scores a goal, but you can clearly see that it's his he'd photoshopped onto like a fucking Celtic player, and he's like smiling. Do you know what I mean? It's a big fake face, but it was more like a mad fucking romantic film shite. That's terrible.
That's a good point for Uncle Nobby. Any given Sunday, Al Pacino's speech about every inch. Meanwhile, there's guys standing about with mega inch doubles hanging out. That's no a word I like.
Playing for keeps, John. Well done. That's the name of it. Playing for keeps. Terrible. Aye, check film. Mark Porciani, that's a great name, by the way. I love a good Italian name. Mark Porciani. Didn't they make a docu-film the season of Lions victory? Probably have. Aye. There's plenty. The Three Kings was a cracker, Gav. The one with Shankly, and Steen.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was really well researched. The only thing is, I remember buying it for my dad. Like I ended up buying it on DVD just so that I could give my dad a Christmas present. And we were watching it, and a lot of it was like old footage that you'd already seen. It's difficult because there's only so much footage going around of Jock Stein and the likes, you know. And I guess they do get recirculated in modern documentaries. But it was well put together, well produced, and it was interesting how all three of them came from similar backgrounds in Scotland. It's quite interesting about the kind of the environment that kind of makes the man, you know.
I tell you about really good. If you see the fucking like Sunderland Till I Die and the Man City one and the Spurs one and
All or Nothing.
All or Nothing. Oh, that would be fantastic. That would have been great in Angie's first season. Maybe not so great in the 10 in a row season, mind you, but
I think it'd be more funny if Sefco did it, man. It'd be fucking hilarious.
Aye, but the only thing is, I don't know if I would like to see it this season because I remember watching every episode of this. I remember watching the Being Liverpool documentary when it was when Rodgers was appointed the manager, and it was your man Clive Owen that was narrating it, the big Liverpool supporter apparently. And so don't get me wrong, some of it was cracking. Some of the insight into what it's like to be the Liverpool manager and be Liverpool players and how they approach the game, training, was great. But see, when you look back at it, my God, man, it's so cringy. Especially what Rodgers. This was back when Rodgers was a wee fat guy with the bad teeth, and like it's went to his house.
Yeah.
And he's walking into the living room and seeing his living room. It's got like he's got a big oil painting himself, like standing like that with a suit on.
It's cringy. You don't want your manager to be doing that sort of thing. That self-indulgence of that extreme, you know, to that degree. What would his kids think, you know?
Well, there's Corvo. Sefco documentary should be How to Kill a Club in 10 Days. I like that, mate. It's great.
Oh, can you imagine if they did an Amazon documentary whenever that shit happened over 10 years ago? That'd be a bestseller, you know. Would you like to do a Celtic one? well, I remember we talked about it in a podcast over a year ago. We're thinking about like radical things, to kind of get the name out there. One of the things was naming rights for the stadium, and another thing was about an all or nothing documentary. I'd be kind of a wee bit concerned about airing your dirty laundry in public. I know that to an extent we would have last say on editing rights, but like, no, take that part out, take that out, keep that in, that sort of thing. Would it bother you, or do you think as a Celtic fan you would just kind of consume any material about the club?
Was The Walking Dead based on Sefco? No, I would love to see that, mate. I think any supporter of any club would love to see the ins and outs of what's happened at their club. I know the Wrexham one is quite a big, as a popular show, and that was kind of good to see the kind of background of that and how the local community that was kind of part of the board, if you want to call it that, was a big, massive part of the process of actually hiring the man Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. You know what I mean? They actually sat and spoke to them on a Zoom, and it was them that decided that they were allowed to come into the club. So that was good to see, and then it takes you into like the local businesses. There's like a pub next to the stadium, this and that. So I think if you were to see something like that for Celtic, and like there's a lot of people out there, myself included, that don't know the ins and outs of the club, don't know the daily aspects of what's happening. And I think if we were to see that, it would be very, very insightful, and it would maybe cast your eye to the human side of players and staff and stuff like this. Do you know what I mean? See if you were to see like Rodgers walking through and saying hello to the tea lady, you'd be like, oh, that's lovely, that. You know what I mean? And I've seen the players like in the gym busting their arse every day, kind of stuff like that, and maybe seeing the camaraderie between the players and the staff and the coaching and all the people that work at Celtic, because obviously Celtic isn't just about the manager, the board, the players. It takes wider than that to run the club. You've got the guys that run the pie stalls, you've got the people that come in and brush the seats, you've got the people that stand at the doors, open the doors, greet people, do the tours, everything. Do you know what I mean? And then you've got the community side here. I would love to see something like that, I really would. I think it'd be very, very good.
And I'm sure Amazon would just love to interview a Celtic podcast, just to get their insight, from a fan's perspective. The opportunities would be endless. I think overall, yeah, I would like to see it because, as fans, we want to consume material about the club. And as long as it didn't make us look like absolute clowns, then I'd be up for it. I'd want to see it. Can we do a documentary hunting for a Yeti starring Albion a Yeti? Yeah, aye. Let's get back to the football. We're talking about goalkeeper. We're talking about defence. Can I ask you? I think as much as I love Greg Taylor, let's talk about the left back position. As much as I love Greg Taylor, by the way, I really need to work in my segues. But as much as I love Greg Taylor, I think he has reached possibly his ceiling. I think he gives his all in the park, and I think he needs to do that in order to give good performances. I don't think he's one of those players who can still contribute very well by playing within himself. I think he really needs to go all out in order to be commanding that left back position. I hope you two realise that you are in most fans' living rooms still. Aye, mate. At the big screen. Yeah.
And
right.
Your pointers.
Oh, thank you for bringing us into your living room. Thank you for that. Greg Taylor, he's good, but there's this question now: is he going to be good enough for Brendan Rodgers? The inversion might not be as frequent as much as what it was under Ange. And I know that Brendan Rodgers likes strong runners as his fullbacks. Taylor might not be that. Get the drink suit then.
Marfit, mate, sorry. Listen, again, mate, like... we've spoken about this umpteen times. The manager last season spoke about it. The manager this season spoke about it. We need to have a strong squad. And having guys like Taylor there as part of our strong squad, he's good enough to be the first choice left back, right? But I don't
I'm
think
a fan of him.
me too. But what I'm saying is I don't think any of us would be up in arms if we had a better left back than Greg Taylor. Do you know what I mean? Greg Taylor gives his heart, he gives passion. He tries his heart out. He's part of the game. He's not just a trier, right? He's a good player, and he's been good for Celtic. He's been a great servant, and he's did his best. He's been part of the winning teams, this and that. But you always need to go better at some point. Unless it's like a Larson or something, you can't go better than Larson. Do you know what I mean? But guys like Greg Taylor, unfortunately, you can get better than Greg Taylor. But having Greg Taylor there is a good thing. You know what I mean? Because even if he's no good enough to be even if he ends up no being good enough to be starting left back, he's still good enough to push the left back position. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. And the other thing is actual character. I think he's a great character from what I see behind the scenes. He's a good influence. He's a very, very good positive influence. He kind of looks to be the right hand man of Callum McGregor. What do you think? When are we going to get a Celtic site where we can blab all we want? Is it money? I don't know.
Tom, what I'm going to say is keep an eye out. Watch your space.
Paddy, Bernaby, what does the future hold for Bernaby if you were to be Mystic Meg? Rest in peace.
Sorry, I'll just bring this comment up. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that we are ahead on penalties. Who's that?
Celtic over Sevco.
Oh, fuck, aye, right. Get it. My apologies. Bernaby, by the way, he's had a very, very good pre-season. Very good pre-season. I've liked his attitude and his application. I thought he would have played at the weekend. I think he was injured, wasn't he?
Bernaby injured.
I think he was.
I don't know, mate.
He wasn't even in the squad, so I'm assuming he was injured. So again, it's up to him to force his way in. I don't think we're going to sign another left back. So I think the manager's happy enough to go with it too.
Well, that was my question. How high do you think on the priority list is getting a new left back in? I would imagine the people in the comments, a lot of them want a new left back. But if you want a new goalkeeper, we're bringing in a new centre back. Me personally, I want a Jota replacement. I really want that. Look, we'll talk about Maida in a bad in a second, but left back, yeah, we'd be a better team if we brought in an upgrade on Taylor. Of course we would. If you bring in an upgrade on anybody, we will be a better team. But is it a priority? You don't think so?
No, I don't think it is. I actually think you're going to see the better of Taylor and Bernaby this season, because I think that they're going to have less duties today. Because I can't see Rodgers going with the inverted fullbacks. I think it's going to be back to a more kind of traditional fullback role. Again, that's just my opinion. I think that. So I think without the weight of having to perform 3 and 4 different roles, they'll be able to concentrate, excuse me, a lot more on their own specific roles. So I think that might actually be favourable towards Bernaby. Do you know what I mean? Because he's young. I think he's a wee bit daft in football terms. Like, he's still refining his position, this and that. But no, I think the priority position now, mate, is goalkeeper. Honestly, I really do.
Good comment for 1414 official. Taylor and Ralston both get done on the inside. You've got to show them the outside. Basic good teams will kill us for that. Can I disagree, mate? I think that's a new contributor as well. Yeah, Taylor get done for the last goal of the game at Ross County. Ended up being a Starfelt own goal. You couldn't blame Starfelt. Starfelt got his body in the way. you can't legislate for a deflection like that. But Taylor did kind of get done. He allowed his marker to go on the inside and advance and get a shot off. You want to stop that. Yeah, Taylor's upgradable, but whether he's going to be a priority, whether a left back is going to be a priority, I don't know. And Bernabei wasn't even on the bench. He didn't make the squad for the game. I don't know. I don't know what was going on there. Aye. So, can I ask you about the wingers? Now, last season, I know your thoughts on it. Well, I don't know your updated thoughts on Abada. I know what your thoughts on Abada were last season. My thoughts on Maida last season was he's a square peg in a round hole. However, I totally admire his work ethic, what he does off the ball, how he can put fullbacks under pressure, how he can nullify the fullbacks getting up the field. But give him the ball, running at a fullback. I think sometimes that's not his game. I think for Japan and what he did as a club player in Japanese football in the J League, that's what he wanted. He wanted to be a centre forward. That's what he's deployed as for his international team. But Rodgers will see his value, and Rodgers might be thinking, well, Kyogo's still going to be my number one because of the amount of goals that Kyogo gets. Can Abada match that? If Abada can't match that, then will I keep playing Maida as a left forward? So he's a frustrating figure, but at the same time, we know what he does. But he's not a natural forward. Now, I want to ask you, is Rodgers, as a manager, when it comes to wingers, is he a purist? Does he like to see natural wingers playing those positions? Do you think he'll persevere? So basically, is Maida going to be the preferred left forward? And is Abada going to be the preferred right forward? Are we going to replace Jota? We've got 25 million for him. That money's sitting in the bank. What are we doing with it? Should we be splashing the cash? We've heard about Tete, Fenerbahce released a thing earlier on today to say for several reasons they're not going to be signing Tete. So fuck knows what's happened with Tete. I wonder because he's on a Bosman, he's on a free transfer, that his agent is trying to get the highest wages possible. So I guess it's a long drawn out question here as always. But Abada, Maida, are they good enough to beat our main wingers? But do you want to see a proper winger come in to replace Jota?
Aye, I want to see a replacement. Whether we can get a good enough one in the now, I don't know. Tete, I think, if memory serves right, he's more a right winger, but he's left-footed and cuts inside. But I honestly, you said it before. You've heard my opinions about Abada, especially last season. The way it started now, I think he's going to be one of your best players this season because he's playing like a winger. No, not just an out-and-out kind of winger, but that direct running that we've been missing from him is there. His pre-season, he's been brilliant. Honestly, really, really good. He's been instinctive. He's been getting down the line. He's been getting crosses in. That's what I've wanted to see for Abada. And I've saw it in pre-season and I saw it at the weekend as well. So I'm happy. I would be happy to go with Abada if he keeps up that momentum. Maeda's Mr. Dependability. He'll play anywhere across the front three and he'll put in a shift. Whether he's good enough to be a natural left forward, I don't know.
Maida wants the ball in behind. He doesn't want it to feet. When he gets it to feet, sometimes he doesn't know what to do. In behind, that's what he wants to do. And maybe Rodgers will try to incorporate that. I saw a brilliant ball for the Rocky. He was in the central defence and he played like a lofted through ball for Maida, who ran on. He took a bad touch and kind of fizzled out. But I don't know, if you've got wingers, whenever you're under the cosh, you want people to come to feet, to try and make spaces for other people. You can't always go long. You can't always just punt it over the defenders. I want wingers who can do both, who can put on the burners and beat your man for pace. And I want them to have the confidence of receiving the ball with the defender behind them. Don't know about that. Don't get me wrong, they're assets, they're proper good assets, but I think we're putting all our eggs in the one basket, or two baskets with Abada and Maida. Abada, The other thing is the mental capability. Does he have the mental fortitude to shoulder the responsibility of being a main creator, of having a lot of responsibility? I don't know.
Well, this is it. And John Kerr there says that Rodgers will want a Sinclair type. Now, I think if you look at all his teams that he's been at, Swansea, it was Sinclair went it on loan, I think. I signed him. Sinclair was his left winger, left forward. Celtic, obviously Sinclair again. Leicester, Harvey Barnes, and I'm sure the two of them they started off as strikers and then moved out to the wing. So it's not really been like a natural left winger, if you know what I mean. It's been two guys that are able to use their pace and cut into the right hand side. Obviously, Maeda's got the pace, but again, as you say, it's not on the ball. It's off the ball where Maeda has got the pace. Maeda isn't fast when he's running with the ball. When he's taking on a defender, he's not got the dribbling ability. He's not got the technical ability in that sense. Where we're trying to get the best out of Maeda is with his final touches, with his final decisions, with his final shooting, if you want to call it that. And he's refining that as every game goes on. But he's not a natural left forward. We need somebody there. Whether Yang can be able to shift all there, I don't know. Whether Tilio can come in, I don't know. But if Jota's gone, well, Jota is gone, obviously, but if Jota's gone, we need to replace Jota. Is any of these guys good enough to be the number one replacement? No, because I would say that Maeda's more a utility man. That i.e. he can play him anywhere across the front free, but he's no necessarily one of the positions. That's no his nailed down position, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think like to an extent, maybe he was a bit of a utility man before, but I think with the departure of Jota, Maeda is the best left winger we've got right now, and it's not a great thought. Maeda was suited to play. He is suited to play in against a high line, which doesn't really happen in Scottish football. Maybe better in Europe, like he plays with Japan. Yeah, a lot of players look shit about playing for their team, but whenever you come to Scotland, it's different because you're going to be playing against a deep line. Somebody mentioned Vata in the comments. Christ knows what's happening with Vata. You know, if James Forrest is still kicking about, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but if James Forrest is still kicking about on the books, I don't know what's happened with that.
Listen, he might have changed agents. I really don't know. But I think
you get Yang, you get Telio as well.
I think he'll probably go out on loan. I think there's that whole thing, isn't there? It's been mentioned that if they play a certain amount of games for the first team, then they're ineligible for the B team. Don't know if that's still the case, but if it is, it's a wee bit unfair on the likes of Vata if he's not going to be really, really pushing for a first team place. So probably the best thing for him is to go out on loan. Agent talk, as I say, I don't know. It could be a personal thing. It could be that he's not had an agent yet or something. I don't know.
I think, see, from Vata's perspective, like he got a little bit of game time last season, a few minutes here and there. The summer comes, you know what I mean, and he's probably saying, right, I'm going to improve in this X, Y, and Z of my game, and come the start of the new season, I'll be hoping for more opportunities. What happens? Postecoglou leaves, Brendan Rodgers comes in, and we're signing a lot of new wingers as well. You've got Yang, you've got Telio. Forrest is still there, as we said. I think Vata needs to go. And Mikey Johnston's still in our books as well, just to complicate matters. Vata needs to go on loan. I don't even know how good he is. Look, we talk about him because he's the best youth prospect we've got. But he might be the best youth prospect we've got, but how good is he compared to the senior team? I don't know if we overestimate him or underestimate him.
Tam, tell your missus to look at the telly now. Hi, Tam's missus. I'm talking to you for the telly.
I agree with Martin Rooney. Would definitely like to see more at home. But it's just going to be a difficult position to break into if you've got McGregor there. Right. What do you think of Con? Is he a big donkey? Is he the reincarnation of Aoife Ambrose?
No, I think he's got qualities, but we've not really seen anything yet.
Donkey Con.
Donkey Kong. I fucking hope no. I think he's maybe a player that will take a wee bit of time to gel, and hopefully can be useful. I don't know, maybe like fucking against Livingston or something away where it's a bit high paced and we need somebody there to drop deep, maybe let McGregor push on. I don't know. It looks all right, but I say we've not seen him. We've not seen him yet, so.
Fair enough. Right, okay, so Paddy, we've been on for an hour and a half. Odin would be a god to Celtic and the fans. Yeah, I see what you're doing there, mate. I see what you're doing.
You hammer that one in there.
Right, Patrick, we've
Gavin.
got Aberdeen. Yes. We've got Aberdeen this weekend. Was it Saturday or Sunday? It's the 13th of August. Let me just double. Is it a Sunday, aye?
Yep.
See, whenever you click your calendar, you expect it to fucking open. Right, aye, 13th Sunday, right? Okay, so kick off at high noon. Away at Pittodrie. It's not the easiest of season openers, but away at Pittodrie. What's your expectations and what's your lineup? Tell me your lineup.
My expectations is that we pump the sheep. Lineup. I think it'll be the same.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you think whatever Hatate does in training this week will not be good enough for him to start over Turnbull?
No, I think Turnbull will start. I think the question is whether O'Reilly will start, and I think he will. Listen, O'Reilly's a cracking player. I know last season he had the stats and whatnot. I think that he had regressed last season for when he first came in. But I think Rodgers will be in the mindset that he can get the best out of him. And he's one of the players that have got a very, very high ceiling. And I think he'll think he's got a higher ceiling than Hatate. I know that you say that you like him and you think he's the player that's got the highest ceiling at the club. But I think Rodgers will look at O'Reilly and say, I can develop this guy into a top player. And he's the type of player that I like. He's got the ball retention. He's clever. Maybe the only thing is the movement and the lack of pace, if you want to say that. But that can be nullified with the use of his tactics. Yes, absolutely. I think he will. And I think the fact that Rodgers' tactics is more about ball retention than pressing is going to be a blessing for guys like Turnbull and O'Reilly, because they toiled under Ange to a certain degree, because they weren't far running, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that. Yes, they were great at passing, they were great at getting into space. You know the script, you know what they're like, you all see them. But that's probably why Hatate was there. Obviously, he's brought him in for Japan, but he likes the fact that he's back and forward, he's the box to box. I say that before the season kicked off as well, I thought Hatate could be that box to box midfielder. But it all depends if the forwards are going to be buzzing about a bit more. You know what I mean? And if we can slowly move up the park and wait for the chances and wait for the openings, O'Reilly will be able to slide somebody through, no bother. Turnbull will be able to take pot shots off, no bother. He'll be able to get forward and score, no bother. You know what I mean?
Aye. No, I hear what you're saying, mate. And that's actually a really good point for Ryan Taylor. It's not a good message to send out if he drops Turnbull, because Turnbull, you know, he toiled under Ange Postecoglou. He's done well in pre-season. He gets the jersey for the opening game of the season. and he turns in a man of the match performance. So I agree with you. It's not a good message to send out. At the same time, though, best man for the jersey, I think for me, Hatate he's got the highest ceiling. I know that I've said that a few times, but Hatate was a bit dodgy in pre-season. He looked okay in Japan, but away to Wolves in Dublin and away to in Glasgow against Bilbao, he looked a bit of a liability. And we want to be pragmatic. That's another thing that Rodgers will be doing compared to Postecoglou, a wee bit more pragmatism. So perhaps Turnbull fits that bill of quality with pragmatism as well.
Apart from that, as Paul says there, he's done enough to keep his place.
Yeah,
why drop?
Yeah.
Why drop him? Why fix something that's? Why change something that's no broke?
Aye. I was just suggesting though that Hatate, gets a rocket up his arse and back in training. He's outperforming everybody in every department. As much as we love, I know that there's a bit of a love in right now with Turnbull, but if Hatate is like ripping up trees and training, it's kind of difficult to, cream rises to the crop sometimes, and I think Hatate.
Hugh's spot on there. It's not a bad thing for Hatate to have to fight for his place.
And I think it was a great decision for Rodgers to drop him for the opening game of the season. You say you're not going to get here because of your reputation for last season. Since Rodgers has came in, Hatate has been lukewarm. He's been hot and cold. So it's a great bit of man management, I think, for Brendan Rodgers.
And Rodgers did say that, didn't he? I can't mind what it was about specifically, but it was something to do like the expectations coming on the back of last season, and he basically says last season doesn't exist anymore. He says that's nothing. He says I couldn't care less about last season. This is the season. We live in the present. You know what I mean? I don't know. I wouldn't say it was a dig at anybody. Certainly no. But it's basically alluding to the fact that it's a new start. It's a new transition. New manager. There's a few new players in, but everybody starts off at zero. Everybody's got to prove their worth. Even the likes of Callum McGregor, they've all got to prove that they're there and they deserve to start. You know what I mean? So nobody's going to start on there.
Do you think McGregor's untouchable?
To a certain extent, aye. How do you drop him? Listen, the only time you should...
I think people get defensive. I think people get... I'm sorry for interrupting. I think people get defensive. See, whenever you question the quality of a Celtic captain, Colin has the highest ceiling, mate. See, whenever you question the quality of a Celtic captain, so Scott Brown, when he was the captain, and Callum McGregor, some people get defensive. I'm not talking about like anybody specifically, but people do get defensive. I think as a Celtic fan, you automatically get defensive if people are in the media are saying McGregor's he's not that great, he's overrated. I think McGregor's, by the way, fantastic for Scotland, which is another thing that he shows up for Celtic and he shows up for Scotland. But whenever people criticise McGregor, sometimes I get defensive and say, no, he's probably the best player in one of the best players in Scotland. And I would have said that about Scott Brown as well, of how effective he is. But, they're only human, and sometimes they put in bad performances. And I think they're the last player that we ever like to criticise. If he's a Celtic captain, he is the most untouchable. And because a lot of them, they do live on reputation. I'm not saying that Callum McGregor is slowing down or he's becoming a liability, but I'm just saying that everybody's fair game, but the Celtic captain is always the last one that you'd want to criticise.
Well, just what Corvo says there, I agree with that. McGregor is built differently. The man doesn't know the meaning of a day off. And I think McGregor is one of these players who will play every minute, every week that he can. And that's been shown by the fact that he's been one of he's played the most minutes of all the football players in the world for the last couple of seasons, I think. Something like that. But Ange said it last season. He said guys like Callum McGregor, Joe Hart, yada yada yada, will not play every game. They will be getting they'll be getting dropped. No dropped in terms of that they'll be playing poorly, but they won't be playing every game. They won't be basically ran into the ground. And I don't think that happened. I really don't think that happened. What he said never came to fruition. So guys like McGregor need to be dropped by the manager for their own good. There's no reason for him to be playing 50, 60 games this season. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why you've got a squad. You need to give the guys a break. Even if they don't want it, just say, listen, this week we're going to go with such and such because they've showed up well in training and you need a break, mate, and we can afford to possibly drop you for this game. You'll still be on the bench, fucking, and God forbid we need you to come on, you'll come on. But just chill it, man.
Yeah. See, maybe perhaps one of the final questions of tonight. So we had the testimonial for Jimmy Forrest. Do you think after the testimonial for Callum McGregor, whenever that does happen, can you see that happening again with any other player for the foreseeable future? A one-man club?
No.
It puts things into perspective because you would take it for granted. Like, see, in the 90s, like how many testimonials would you witness at Parkhead, for Celtic players? It happened fairly often. Like I remember Peter Grant's was one of the most memorable for me, Bayern Munich at Parkhead when it was still getting done up. And Fergus McCann making a speech about we wanted to emulate Bayern and their success and just develop as a football club. But I'm digressing. The main point was a player who plays long enough to earn a testimonial at Celtic, you don't necessarily need to be a one-man club. But the longevity that James Forrest exhibited and what Callum McGregor is doing now, could it be the last of a dying breed, as one person did say?
I think that could be on the money. I think no, like a testimonial will be fucking 5 years. Something like that. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a player playing for you for 5 years, it's been a fucking a century. Just the way that the football is going, and we've not really brought through any players into the first team. We've not for the youth academy, which is a shame. It really is a shame, and it's something that needs looked at. But we just need to enjoy players like McGregor and even James Forrest while we can, because it's kind of unrealistic, I think, now, especially when we're not bringing through young laddies for the first team, for the youth teams into the first team.
Aye, there's it's kind of the well has dried up. Well, another thing, I remember watching an interview with Peter Grant. Peter Grant said that, see, if you were back in his day, he said that if you're on Celtic books and you're like a 17-year-old, an 18-year-old, and you have not played for the Celtic first team, he said, if you've not had your debut at that age as a teenager, then you don't have a future at the club, and then you'd be looking, you'd be getting moved on elsewhere, because back then player power was different in terms of engineering moves. But as a teenager, if you weren't getting any game time at all with the first team, you'd be getting moved on. You knew the writing was on the wall. Whereas nowadays, if you're a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, if you're at Lennoxtown, you're still operating in that bubble, thinking my future's probably secured. Surely I will be a Celtic player at one point. And because you start to make your debut at a later age. Maybe it's down to talent. Some people got it early on, like Doak got it as a 16-year-old, perhaps 17-year-old against Sevco. But again, maybe that was down to the fact that we wanted to show him you've got a future at Celtic. Don't take that contract at Liverpool. But I think there's been a change in trend back from the 80s and 90s. You could get your debut for Celtic as a teenager, but it's few and far between now, and that's a worrying thing. It's a worrying thing. Your development is very different nowadays.
See if you look at clubs like Man City, clubs like Man City, right? Whoever else, big clubs, Chelsea, Man Cities and Chelsea's. Basically, what they do now is they're not really about player development in terms of getting them for the youth teams and into the first team, right? They're in a position where they can buy their first team players.
Yeah.
But what they do is they hoover up all the best young talent, they get them into the youth squads, they loan them out, and then they try and sell them on for a big fee. Right? That's their MO, that's their model. Buy them young, sell them high. We don't do that. Right? Our youth academy is there. We've got all these young players, and they don't get into the first team. That's why players like the two boys that went to Bayern Munich left, your Vincent Angelini left. But it's not as if we're getting huge amounts for these young laddies. Do you know what I mean? I genuinely don't see the point in our fucking youth academies now, because it's not as if we've got 2 and 3 breaking through every season. And it's not as if we've got 2 and 3 leaving for big money every season. Well, no, we're basically becoming... Our youth academies are like feeder clubs. It's like a feeder club for other teams, because they're just leaving the youth academy and going and building a career somewhere else, which is fair enough, right? If that's how it's going to be. But how is that youth academy sustainable? That's my question. Especially when you're not bringing in massive amounts of money. You brought in 25 million for Tierney, right? That's incredible. That's an incredible amount to bring in for a youth player, for Celtic, for a Scottish team. But who else? Who else have we sold for the youth teams that's went for £1 million? Do you know what I mean?
It's difficult to cultivate talent and want them or keep them motivated to remain at Celtic. I think one of the main things we've got with Rocco Vata is his connection with his parents. You know, his mum's a Celtic diehard, and his father obviously played for Celtic. They both live in Glasgow. You know, so the pathway for him is to they wouldn't be pushing him to go elsewhere. You know, they would say, hedge your bets, stay with Celtic and see how the opportunities unfold. And I'm sure they're smart enough, despite their love for Celtic, I'm sure they would be pragmatic enough to say, if the opportunity doesn't arise for you at Celtic whenever you hit a certain age, then yeah, perhaps look elsewhere. The boys get an agent, you know what I mean? They're no daft. But I think that the Celtic connection is perhaps one of the reasons that Rocco Vata is still kicking about at Celtic. But as I said, it's difficult to nurture the young talent and keep them at Celtic whenever they can go down south, like Ben Doak did, for money. Like so many other players have went, you know, for money. Doak looks to be a prospect, you know. Jurgen Klopp has been talking about him. Like, I wish him the best, you know. Wish him the best, but it's disheartening. It really is disheartening. And whenever you talk about when was the last talent, you know, for Celtic, even like the last proper centre forward that we produced, I think we're going back to take away Craig Beattie. I think you're going back to Jerry Craney, like a proper number 9 that Celtic has produced. Fucking hell, Craney was the early 90s, a long time ago.
Strikers, you're talking Mark Burchill, Sean Maloney, Jamie Smith, even Craig Beattie, Tony Watt to an extent, even though we brought him in for Airdrie.
Ross Wallace. If we're talking about wingers like Ross Wallace, Jamie Smith, Sean Maloney, Aidan McGeady, you know, aye. No, it's difficult.
But then again, it's difficult because we demand instant success. We demand to win every single trophy, every single game, every single competition. And I've got a bit of romanticism about getting the young players into the first team and seeing a youth player, a homegrown talent, coming in and making his name in the first team. But again, I can see the other side of that is that we demand the success, and if these wee guys don't perform fucking miracles within 2 or 3 games, you're like, oh fuck. You know what I mean? But the way it stands, I try to put this across the best way I can. But see, every single player that we sign, they've been somebody's youth player, they've been somebody's academy player. You know what I mean? We should be bringing through somebody and at least gain them fucking 10 games a season. See, even if it's 10 sub games a season, and see if they're not good enough to play 10 games a season, they're not good enough to be at the club, they're not good enough to be at the academy. So see if that's the case, then your academy is not performing well enough. Your academy is no fucking point. You know what I mean? So people in your academy need to be looked at. And I think that
Can I ask though? I get your argument there, but do you think that because we are in the unique situation of being Celtic Football Club, where you need to win every single game, like there's not many clubs. Like obviously, same with Sevco, they need to win every single game. The standards are pretty much the same for both of us. It's a disaster if you don't get the 3 points every weekend. The demands on a Celtic player is different from the demands of, with all due respect to Corvo, a Newcastle player, or whoever the fuck, Celtic is such high standards that maybe try to bring in the youth, give them game time, say, do something with the ball. If you lose the ball, fair enough. If you make a mistake, fair enough. You learn from it. With Celtic, you get punished for those mistakes, and maybe that's why there's a reluctance to throw in the youth. I don't know.
Listen, play them in a cup game. Play them in the cup games and see if they're no ready to step up to first team. Send them out on loan. But don't send them out on loan to like a Hibs or Aberdeen or St Mirren or whatever and say that they can't play against Celtic. Now, I get the fact that you don't want your player coming back to haunt you. But see if your player's out on loan, let them play against you and let them prove that they're fucking good enough to play against you, which means that they're good enough to play for you. Know what I mean? We stifle ourselves with success, and that breeds a negativity in terms of developing and flourishing. But again, it's how you balance that between bringing through success and demanding instant success. You know what I mean? We need to bring in players. We need to buy players to go and play the Champions League. We need to bring in players to win leagues. But we should have some sort of a system where, like even every season, say you focus on 3 players and you make sure that they come through. Because as I say, see if they're in your academy, it's surely because that you've spotted a talent and they're good enough to be in your academy. But we just don't.
I would rather.
Good enough.
I would rather. Last point, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. The Celtic B team and the league that they operate is like the 5th tier of Scottish football. It's not good enough. What I would advocate for is, why don't we buy a team in the Irish League, okay? And that's our feeder club. So your Rocco Vatas and the likes, they're not good enough for the first team, but need game time against hardened senior professionals. Play them for the team in the Irish League,
I love your idea. Excuse me. But I'm telling you right now that the Irish League isn't really much a step up for fucking the Highland League, unfortunately. And if I've offended anybody, I apologise, but it's no.
Fair dues. Right. On that note, if Paul McFarlane, we had talent at Celtic and we'll let Jacinta go. Yes, it's difficult to disagree, man. Who's going to step into the void? Right, guys, we've been on for an hour and 53 minutes. Paddy, it's been good talking to you. We will try and do a post-match after the Aberdeen game on Sunday. Are you free on Sunday, do you think?
Possibly. Was that 12 o'clock? 12 o'clock. Aye, I'll be about.
Good man. Right, Paddy, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm glad that you're doing well. McGinty will be on milk bottles tomorrow. We don't know where he is. He is missing in action, McGinty. We hope he's doing well. But we'll be back.
He's supposed to appear tonight and has let us down. He's an absolute disgrace.
It's a disgrace, mate. He's worse than a jetty.
And you see him less than McCarthy. But listen, nearly 2 hours we've been on for, and we've had a solid amount of people watching all the comments. Guys, thank you very much. We hope we've entertained you. Maybe no, but you've certainly made their night with the comments and that. So hope everybody's good. Hope you all have a great week. And as Gav says, we'll see you on Sunday. And hopefully we're back talking on a positive note. And we've took another fucking 3 points.
And tomorrow night, if nobody's getting through to do, then you can watch that Diddy team play against Sevco. It's the first leg of the qualifier. It'd be hilarious. It'd be hilarious if they get put out. I hope to God it happens. So if you're bored, then you can watch that. But anyway,
if anybody would like to watch it, I believe it's on the Comedy Channel, Comedy Central.
Anyway, thank you very much for your comments tonight. Hope you're all doing well. We'll catch you Sunday. Keep well. Over and out.
Ciao.